Continue.
Anadeep,
Huh.
you just did one thing.
Huh.
You just switched on those hazard lights.
Hazard lights. Okay.
If you see here,
Huh.
this one just has a icon or as a symbol over
Correct.
here.
Correct. Triangle icon.
Triangle
Yes.
icon is there,
Correct.
and some other things like, for example, if you see here, like they have written mute, volume.
Correct. Correct.
They have written
Correct.
like text as well as an icon to it.
Correct. Correct.
So, which approach is correct?
Very interesting question, man. Okay. So, firstly, it's not a black and white answer.
Okay.
It's not like, oh, icons should always go with text labels, or icons should not go with text labels. It's not a very black and white answer, because this is not just a question which you are asking. This is basically a very, very big argument. Okay.
Huh.
So there are a lot of people who actually debate about this exact point. Okay. Okay, let's talk about it.
Huh.
So, firstly, let's understand the pros and cons of both the approaches.
Okay.
Okay, the approach with icons which have text labels,
Huh.
and the approach with icons without the text labels.
Yeah.
Let's just understand pros and cons, right?
Huh.
And let's also discuss in terms of now whatever you're showing, this physical interface, correct?
Huh.
We are in a car. It's
yeah.
a physical interface, and what really happens when you are looking at things on a digital interface. Of course, here also there is a digital interface, but yes, right? I mean, or if you let us say you're on your mobile phone or something like that, if you're in a physical interface, a digital interface, what happens? We can discuss both scenarios as well.
Yeah.
See, firstly, you tell me what can be the pros and cons of having text labels for icons.
One very obvious thing is like you will just understand just by reading it.
Okay.
So what does that button or whichever may be the element is
Yes.
doing?
Yes, we generally call it the the glyph, right?
Huh.
Or you can also say the icon in general, you can
Yeah.
say, right? So what you are trying to say is the advantage of having a text label versus not having a text label is basically there is no ambiguity
Yeah.
for your users on understanding what that means.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
For example, when you started, you are like this, whatever. You were like very confused
Yes,
in terms
yes.
of what to call it. And frankly speaking, everyone has their own name for it.
Yeah.
Hazard light, parking light, this, that, whatever.
Yes.
Right? Multiple names. So people do have these multiple names for it. Right?
Yeah.
So
And one more thing is like I can't just state the pro of having a label without stating the con of not having a label. So
yeah.
yeah.
So what I'm asking you is, how does it help users? Like the pros in terms of how does this help users? In that way, you tell me, right?
So like it's solving a problem which I can think of. For example, if you see this hazard light itself, I'm a first time user getting into the car.
Correct.
I don't even, I just see like 3 triangles inside each other, like concentric triangles.
Right.
So and I don't know what that does.
Correct.
Maybe it is a warning, like warning generally is like having exclamatory inside it. I don't know, like the parking light is just to warn others, right?
Okay.
And
okay.
I don't associate it to be a warning just
Correct.
looking at these symbols.
Correct.
I don't know whether it will take me to Mount Everest or not. It's just
Yeah.
So
Yes, basically you're saying icons leave you in ambiguity,
yes.
and text labels would obviously make it easy for people to understand it, right? That's one thing. Okay. Now, what do you think of the cons of having text labels with an icon?
It would take a lot of space. If there is like small spaces,
Not a lot of space, but text space.
Text space, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Think more. You're just giving me surface
Yeah.
level.
Yeah. One more thing is like
Just-
if I go micro,
Okay.
like if someone doesn't know English,
Yeah. Correct. Very
just
good.
having a text will just be they don't even understand like what's there. The same
But there's
ambiguity
a
comes again.
Very associated, commonly quoted con. That is, the moment you introduce text, you need to make sure people know what the text means. You need to make sure that the language which you use can be understood by people, right, whom you're designing for.
How?
So let us say, for example, if the label is in Hindi, it's a little difficult for me because I'm not a native Hindi speaker or someone who has practiced reading and writing Hindi very much. So it becomes little. That means I'll have to read it letter by letter, right? Now that is going to make it more difficult for me to read with the label, right? Rather than not having it, right? So that means yes, text labels always come with this associated con that you need to make sure that people know what you're writing, right? So we've discussed a few pros and cons, right? So what we'll do is let us go and look at some examples and establish what's happening over there. Let's analyze, like what is the advantage of it, what are the pros and cons which are literally having in this, which is happening in this particular situation. Let's analyze, right? So let's say if you look at that particular hazard icon or whatever, right? So we can clearly see that we don't have a name for it, right? We don't know what it is called, but the good part is, irrespective of whoever is driving this car, because this car is basically made for people of a lot of nationalities, a lot of regions, we can't by default assume that all of them can understand English, right? Irrespective of it, what they try to do is, they try to insert the same icon in every car. If you see, the icon is the same, right? That means this icon is being pushed as a standard, as a common standard which most people can possibly recognize. So when this icon is going as a standard, they can go and take a compromise of not having any language immediately associated with it. Rather, make it a very accessible glyph, which doesn't even require anyone to even read about it, but they can actually go and use it, right? That means what we have to note over here is, in places like this, in places like a car, which requires you to have a license to drive, that means they know that a user is actually going and training themselves to go and use this product. In those cases, it's a very important point, you can actually take the liberty of leaving some things for people to be trained about. Now this is something which you will be trained about when you're actually going and learning a car. You know that if there is some danger or something like that, you will have to go and press on this triangle icon. Even if the instructor also doesn't know what is the name, they'll talk to you about it, right? So in these manners, we can also draw these kind of panels even to digital interfaces. Things where we know that people will either come and learn or will have learned. Two cases I'll explain quickly. Let us talk about search icon. Now search icon is something which is so common that everyone already knows about it. Right? You can very safely assume that a lot of people already know about it, because that is some of the most common icon which is used in like multiple products out there. This is the case where you can very safely assume that that is something which doesn't really require a label called search. But let us say on the other hand, there are enterprise applications where you know that people will be trained for going and using that product. Even in those places, you can actually take this compromise of directly putting the icons for saving the space and leave those text labels. Right? So it's actually so beautiful that we landed at a very, it's a very interesting concept. So let's take one more example. If you go and look at this particular screen over here, right? If you see, these icons do not have any labels, right? Here, let us say this one. This is the play icon, which doesn't have an icon, right? And what is this icon?
Next. Previous one.
Right? So, right from the age-old days of using, tape recorders. Right from the age-old days of using tape recorders and stuff like that, we have been very used to these icons, right? That means because you're very used to these icons, you don't even have to worry about people misunderstanding them. In fact, some places, even the moment you start writing, people might be confused. The icon itself might mean something more than the text you actually write, right? So that's one thing. But in few situations, you will have to, let us say this tick mark is there and finished is there, right? If directly the tick mark is there, right? Let's say, okay, fine. It turned into go and voice, right? Now, this is something where it is a little ambiguous, right? Let us say the voice is not there. It can mean that you can basically tap on it and speak fine or not.
Maybe it might be considered as recording as well. I can record as
well, right?
Yeah.
So there's little amount of ambiguity, right? Therefore, they've went and wrote the thing called voice, right? Voice search.
So how do we decide like when to use a text label for the icon, or just use a text label or text with an icon?
Yes. So now that you have a few examples in terms of where are they using these labels and not using these labels, okay, let me establish one thing.
Huh.
So if you've seen that all the decision between whether to place an icon or an icon plus text in all the examples we have seen until now
Huh?
have all been taken by the designer basis the way the user is. Right, in all those situations, you clearly saw that, hey, you know what, is this person trained or not? Can this person, you know, in that particular play icon you saw is something which you would want to immediately tap without even going and reading, because what are you doing over there? You're not reading a newspaper there, you're driving.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Right? So you should design that particular interface for someone who doesn't have the time to go and read. They should instantly go and act.
Yeah.
What does this mean? This means that as a designer, you will have to be very conscious about whom are you designing for.
Huh.
It's a big misconception that people think that some of these questions have absolute answers. Oh, should we use icons? Should we not use icons? And there are a lot of people who debate about it without even getting into, who, where,
Yeah.
where is this icon? Where is this text?
Yes,
In what situation is it being used? What icon is this? Is it something as popular as a search icon? Or is it something which is not very popular? Is the person driving, reading newspaper,
He's working,
sitting
in his
at
office.
working? Right? All these are very important.
Yeah,
Right?
Now I just got this thing in my mind. Like, if you see the Spotify interface,
Correct.
it has like so many features in the phone.
Correct.
But the moment you connect it to CarPlay or the Android Auto,
They make it
completely
very simple.
changes.
Yes,
Like
yes.
you can't even edit your playlist
Correct.
when you're driving. Now it really makes sense. Like, considering the situation of the user
Correct.
the behavior of the user, you should plan how you're going to showcase the icons to him.
Yes. So it's a very good discussion because this doesn't just establish empathy towards users only in terms of an icon and text or anything, right? It literally establishes that whatever you design for, it's not about having absolute answers.
Yes.
All the subjective questions in this particular manner can only be broken down by going and understanding what are you actually designing for.
Yeah.
We need to be very, very clear about this, that every time we design, you have two things, right? One, you have a business whom you're designing for.
Yes.
And you understand the users.
Yes.
Right? Very simple. In any project, you need to understand that as a designer, you hold for the lack of better words, I say the right. The right for subjectivity. Because you are the human designer who will take those decisions.
Yeah.
If it is so easy to take a decision about this, why even give this to a human? A machine can decide by itself whether an icon should have a text or not, right? Because these are not according to those standards or anything. It requires a human subjectivity to actually bring in and think and empathize about the users and the business and the situation they are in to go and take these particular decisions. You have this power with you, right? And that's why, dear brother, whatever AI comes and does, this is just a tool. It always requires a human, right? All the people who just do mundane stuff, right?
Yeah.
Of taking the decisions which a machine can take by itself, those people will be replaced.
Yes.
But there is always someone who is required to empathize the users and the business.
Yes.
Awesome, man. Okay, now I'm very, very hungry. Let's enter Veena stores.
Yes.
Not ordering for you and you until you subscribe. Yeah. And please like and share it as well. Right? See you. Bye.